Today, in my series about Guanqin watches, I want to do a review about this watch. This watch has the reference number GJ16058. And it is quite a nice watch to look at, I guess. It has a lot of gold tones. The dial is of a metallic white variety. And yeah, it is really a sunny watch. What are the specs of this watch? Well, the crystal is made of sapphire, the case is a stainless steel, and the movement is a GJ16058 out of the Guanqin factory. How do you know from which factory it is? Well, if you have a look underneath the balance wheel, right at the edge of the case, there is an oval. And that oval tells you, because of the two letters that are printed in it, in this case an N and another N, where it has been made. Now, the case back, as you can see, is screwed on with 4 screws. And yeah, the watch itself is actually quite nice. There are some downsides, however, and those have to do with the size of the watch. Well, the case diameter isn't that big of a problem, I guess. It is a bit on the big side for a small wrist, 40 millimeters. The lug to lug is actually quite alright with 47 millimeters, so that's quite a good thing. But it is a really thick watch. It has 12 millimeters from top to bottom, and what is more kind of a nuisance and a presence is the shape of the lugs. They are really bulky. So you have this really fat ridge here. And yeah, its subtlety is not its thing. It wears quite big as well. It has quite some weight. And it came on a stainless steel bracelet. Well, I had to take that off. Why? Because it didn't fit my 5.9 to 6 inch wrists. It was a bit too big. Would I have left it otherwise on the watch? No, I would have taken it off anyway because of the shape of the end lugs. The end lugs also are very bulky and they don't connect to the bracelet in a very nice way. So the bracelet had to go. Now, what did I encounter with this watch? The movement actually is running quite nice. It has about -2 seconds for every 24 hours, so that's actually quite all right. The only thing I noticed about it that I didn't like that much is this space between the case and the crown. And I hope that the rubber ring inside the crown connects with the tube, but I don't know for sure. So I don't know whether this watch really has the water resistance it claims to have. Now, would I swim with a watch like this? No, I wouldn't. So that's not so much of a problem. The biggest problem I have with this watch is the lugs. I really don't like those lugs. I can put it on my wrist for a moment. And try to show you what it looks like that. So here you have it on wrist, and really it's almost like a fortress on my very small wrist. So that's a little bit of a shame. Now, finally, I also want to make a slight comparison because of this downside of this watch. Because here I have the quite famous Starking watch that is about the same price, I guess, as this one. I bought this really cheaply, so I bought this for 15 euros. it was really a bargain. This one was a bit more expensive. I bought this for 30 euros at the time. And it has the same idea. It has the same style. The only difference is this one doesn't have any loom on the Dauphine hands, but I really like it actually because it leaves the lines of on the Dauphine hands intact. So that's, I think, a good thing, because the loom isn't that great and you don't only have loom on the hands and not on the dial. So it doesn't work very well in the dark. You really have to know how to keep your watch in what position you are keeping it, because otherwise you will read the wrong time. So that's a difference between the two. This dial is plain white. It is a little bit less white than this one, and I don't like it as much as the Guanqin one, but look at the shape of the case. From this side it's quite the same. 40 millimeters diameter. Lug to lug is almost the same, I would say. But here you have the width and the girth, and here you have actually a rather slim watch. And yeah, that's what really makes this watch a much better watch. Also notice that there is almost the same movement in it. It is also a GJ16058, but this one isn't made in Nanking. It has an SK in the oval, so it's made in the other factory. And it has a kind of a high beat, although it's not really high beat, but it ticks at about 28,000 hertz. So that's also quite nice. So if you have a smaller wrist and you would be wanting to buy a watch like this, then I can only recommend buying this one. If you have a bigger wrist and you don't mind the lug shapes, then maybe this one is something for you. Something else I can add is that this one, the Starking, also came with a bracelet. The bracelet in itself is quite nice, but it is unwearable for a smaller wrist because the end lugs are flaring out, and so it wears really big. And besides, if I remember correctly, I also had a problem with sizing it correctly because it was just too wide. I couldn't remove enough links to make it fit properly. So for both watches, if there's a strap version, I recommend buying that one. Although there's another difference between those watches. You can see this one has brushed lugs on the top. This one has polished lugs on the top. Now, if you buy a Starking watch, at least that was for the other one with the Miyota inside it. If you buy that watch on a bracelet, you will get the brushed lugs. If you buy that watch on a polished, on a strap, then you get polished lugs. And see how here, right there, this bit has been milled out. And that is because it is necessary to fit a bracelet on it. They didn't mill that bit out on the strap version. So be aware that if you buy the strap version, it will be harder to fit a bracelet later on. Well, that's all for now, and bye-bye.